Hi everyone, I'm Miss Martine. As some of you young chefs already know, we have a bunch of videos on our FoodPrints website that show you how to do specific things in the kitchen, like how to cut an onion or how to use a can opener. We call these our kitchen skills videos, and you should definitely watch them before starting any recipe. Also, during our recipe videos, you might see this pop up. This symbol is a reminder to watch the skills videos first so that you know how to safely do whatever the teacher is doing on the screen. And one last important thing to remember, you should only do these recipes if you have a grown-up around who's ready to help you and keep you safe. And that's it. Now, have fun cooking.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Finneran, one of the teachers in the FoodPrints program. Today we're going to learn how to make a vegetable frittata. A frittata is a mixture of eggs and milk with a lot of different vegetables and cheese added. Before we get started though, we need to do two things. First, wash your hands and read the recipe all the way through. That way we'll have everything we need organized before we get started cooking. Once you've read the recipe all the way through, we do what's called our mise en place, which is just a French term that chefs use, which means getting everything in place. So let's take a look at my mise en place for the frittata. Here I have my cutting board, knives, I have a whisk. If you don't have a whisk at home, that's fine, you can use a fork. I have a grater, I've got a spatula, a pastry brush. Again, you don't have to have a pastry brush. I'll explain what we use that for later. I've got scissors, mixing bowls, a liquid measuring cup, and here on the other side I have all my ingredients. I've got fresh farm eggs, milk, some cheese, and all of these beautiful vegetables. The best thing about frittatas is that you don't have to use them all. You can pick and choose and use which ones you like best. So today I just have out here all these wonderful things because I love displaying them. But I'm going to use a zucchini, I'm going to use a red pepper, and then I have all these fun things from my school garden. Look at these crazy things. These are called Egyptian walking onions. Aren't they fun? I love having them in my flower vase because I just think they're the coolest things. But you can use them just like you would an onion. I'm going to cut this thing up and I'm going to show you how to use that. And these are actually the seeds. So I'll cut these off and I'm going to plant them back in my garden. I also have this beautiful vegetable called Swiss chard. I actually even grow this with my flowers because the colors are so gorgeous. It's actually a variety of Swiss chard called rainbow. I don't think I have to tell you why it's called rainbow Swiss chard, do I? Because look at these beautiful colors. All right, these are the vegetables we're going to use for our frittata today. And I've got my stove ready, it's cleared. This is a oven-proof pan, it's cast iron, it can go in the oven. So we're gonna use this for frying up our vegetables and then finishing off our frittata. You could also put them in a little muffin pan, so I'll show you how to do that. When I use the oven, I always check first to make sure there's nothing in it before I turn it on. And when we use the oven and the stove, we need the hot pads. So I'm going to wash these vegetables while you check in with some FoodPrints friends to see what vegetables they're going to use in their frittata today.
Look at all the veggies that we have. Which one are we going to choose? I think I would like to put in some Swiss chard. Where's the Swiss chard?
Right here.
Which one would you like to put in?
Mommy, should we put some zucchini in it?
We sure can.
Yay!
Let's do it.
All right. So, did you see all those varieties of frittatas we're going to have today? That's awesome. Earlier I made two different varieties to show you what could be possible. Here is our family's favorite. I make it with cooked potatoes and caramelized onions. I like to have those in the fridge at all times because I can make a frittata in about 15 minutes. And this is a school favorite. It's broccoli with cheddar cheese. You can make whatever you want. It's awesome. So we're going to get started. Oh, and while I was going through my mise en place, I remembered something that I forgot. See, that's the whole point of this mise en place thing. I have a tray that I use for cracking eggs with young children. It's awesome. So I'm going to show you that. It keeps things from being really messy. And also the butter knife. Because you'll have to have a grown-up if you're using a sharp knife. But I want to show you how most of these vegetables you can use a butter knife, something that you all have at home. So we're going to start with our pepper. Because I like the peppers to cook the longest, I want to get them started first. So we're going to cut this. We have some fun things inside, and I'm actually going to use my butter knife just to show you how we can do this. In class, so I'm going to use my claw to help guide my fingers, and I'm just going to saw down and take this edge off. I'm going to work my way around the pepper. And you see all these beautiful seeds inside. So I'm careful not to cut them because I don't want them going all over my cutting board and making a mess. Now, you want all of that there. That's all edible. This I'm going to put into a bowl for my scraps for later. I'll explain a little bit more about that later. Now, with these pieces, if you have young children, you can give them one little slice and then they can practice cutting it into cubes like that with a butter knife. See how easy it is? Bigger kids can take this whole little slab and do the whole thing just like that. I'm going to put my peppers in my bowl to make it easy to transfer them over to the stove. All right, I'm going to grab the olive oil. You just need a little bit of olive oil in the pan. I'm going to put them right next to the pan. Now remember, when we're using the stove, got to have your grown-up with you. So grab your grown-up. And I'm going to put just about a tablespoon of olive oil in the pan. Just need a little bit so the vegetables don't stick. And I'm going to let that heat up a little bit. So I'm going to turn it on to low. Let's see. That looks about right. I'm just going to give that a couple seconds to warm up. While that's warming up, I'm going to cut up the zucchini. Now, the zucchini, actually, that's why I kind of like these vegetables, that they're easy for kids to help you cut. So I'm going to take off the stem, and I'm going to use what's called the tunnel cut here and cut it right down the middle. All right, now I'm going to make it flat. Makes it a lot easier to cut. And the reason I'm using my butter knife is really for you to see that you don't have to have anything special to cut these kind of vegetables. I'm going to do some strips first. And then I'm going to cut them like this. So, and the claw really helps because it holds those two together. My pinky on one side and the thumb on the other. And the rest of my fingers guide how big I want my cubes to be. We just keep inching our way back. And this is the perfect kind of vegetable to practice these knife skills for your kids. So let them have at it. All right, so see, I'm even going to use the claw this way too. It doesn't have to be a tunnel, and they don't have to be perfect, right? It's just practice. All right, now it's a little thicker, so I'm struggling a little bit more, but that's okay. And you can even make them flat this way. So let's see how some friends are practicing their knife skills at home.
A tunnel.
Okay, show everybody the tunnel. We're going to cut our zucchini in half, utilizing the tunnel. And the tunnel helps us keep our zucchini in place.
A bear claw.
The bear claw. Okay, let's use our bear claw to cut our zucchini into smaller pieces. And the bear claw helps us keep our zucchini in place, but also protects our fingers. Right? So we want to tuck our fingers in and go back and forth, back and forth. So like our knuckles are hitting the knife, but not our fingers. There we go. Yep, just like that.
Great job practicing those knife skills. It's really good. Practice makes perfect, and it just takes time. So while you're away, I finished my zucchini. I am going to move it over here and check on my pan that was getting hot. So I'm using my senses. I'm going to look at my pan. I can tell that the oil is rippling a little bit. I'm going to add the peppers, and I'm going to add things away from my body. I'm not going to pull things toward me because even if it's a little bit of oil, it could splash up on me. So I'm going to pour these in carefully. So I'm going to just even them out so they can start to cook. I like to get them a little bit crispy, have that little bit of an almost burnt taste to them. Okay, so I'm going to let that cook just for a minute, and I want to show you how I prepared the Swiss chard. The great thing about Swiss chard is that the stem is edible too. So I'm going to take my knife, and again, you can do this with a butter knife. Take off the stem, and then just practice, more practice for your knife skills. Just going to cut that up really fast. The kids love that sound. Isn't that funny? That little crunch. Okay, I'm going to put those. Now the reason I separate them is that the stems take a little bit longer. And this is another fun little trick we do in class. We roll up the leaves, and then I'm going to cut them. There's a good French term for this. It's called chiffonade, I think, if I said it right. So little ribbons. All right, so I'm going to keep them separate because they don't take very long to cook. I'm going to put my stems in the bowl so I don't want to lose any transporting them over to the stove. I'm going to quickly check on the peppers. They look like they're doing all right. I'm going to give them a stir. And I'm even going to turn it up just a little bit to move it along. So, because they need just a couple more minutes. That's what's kind of nice about this. You can get started on some things and you can come back and finish up your other vegetables. So now we're going to move on these fun Egyptian walking onions. Another good thing you could use for quiche or frittata, this is called a garlic scape. You'll see these at the farmer's market, or if you get a farm share bag. And they're just the top parts of a garlic. The garlic, it doesn't get harvested until July. But these pieces, these will be a blossom, and it's all edible. And what we like doing in class, I might just do one of these too today. I could cut it with a knife or a butter knife. In class for even younger kids, let's see if it'll work with us scissors. So for my little friends, this is a great way to practice learning how to use scissors. Believe it or not, sometimes kids don't get enough chance to cut with scissors. So it works with scissors. You can do it with a knife. It goes all the way up. I'm going to cut it up in a couple pieces. I'll make it go a little faster. Okay. And the same thing with my walking onion here. Now I'm going to save this part here because I'm going to plant that in my garden. That's the seed, believe it or not. I'll plant that and a whole nother set of walking onions will grow. And let's see, I might do about that much. And this is funny too. It's like a straw. Can you see that? And it also makes a funny sound when I cut it. Almost like music. Okay, now if you don't like onions, you can just chop them up smaller. I mean, that's the nice thing about this recipe. You put in what you want and as much as you want. All right, let's check on those peppers. They're sizzling pretty nice. All right, you can see they're starting to brown a little bit around the edges. Now I'm going to add into my zucchini. Oh, that smells good. Now, I'm not measuring, but you can kind of decide how much you want. Like some people like a lot of vegetables. Other people might like just a little bit of vegetables and more egg and more cheese. And we're probably going to use about 4 to 5 cups of vegetables. Now, I'll give that a minute. I'm going to put my Swiss chard leaves in here. Move them over to the stove. I'm actually going to throw my onion pieces in with the stems. Okay. So I'll give that a minute. Now, while that's working, I am going to show you my trick with the plastic lid. And I'm going to bring my big bowl close by because I'm going to be working with the eggs. So with young children, they love cracking eggs. And everybody wants to have a turn. So the first thing we do is I'm going to crack the egg. Now, they don't understand their strength. So sometimes they'll smash it down on the table really hard and it just goes all over the table, shells and all. So I started using this tray, and then they can smash on the tray, and if it does completely fall apart, it's easy to pick up and I don't have a huge mess. So this way, make a little hole. I'm going to put my thumbs in there and pull it apart, just like that. Then they have to be careful and move slow and move the egg into the bowl. You should see their faces when they're trying to do that, nice and slow. Okay, I have to crack 10 eggs for this recipe. So check in with some friends and see how they're doing at home cracking their eggs. All right, you're back. Okay, great. So while I was waiting, I had to check on my vegetables. Look, they're beautiful. Getting brown around the edges. I'm going to quickly throw in that Swiss chard stems. Oh my gosh. Rainbow frittata right there too. All right, got our eggs ready. You guys did a great job on your eggs. Now, you can use a fork or you can use a whisk. The purpose here is to really break up the eggs and the yolks really well before we add the liquid. Because if there was more liquid in there, that would end up sloshing around and spilling out. And we really want to get these broken up. And I'm going to come here and get my salt. I'm going to add a pinch of salt while we're doing this. And some pepper. You can add as much pepper as you like. I love pepper, so I might even have to put more on top. All right, that looks pretty well mixed. So you can also, let's see, I have milk here. You could also use half and half or cream if you want it to be really rich. I'm going to use my liquid measuring cup. And I like this because you can see the different measurements on the side. This is a 2-cup measure, and I only need about 1/3, so that's on this side right here. I really like having my friends around here because they get to tell me when to stop, but I have to look over here. I have to turn it to myself so I can look kind of lonely here. All right, I might have put too much in, but that's okay. That's the nice thing about this recipe too. It doesn't have to be super exact. If you only have 8 eggs, you can certainly make this with 8 eggs. That's fine too. So now I'm going to pour in my milk. Okay, let's see how our vegetables are doing. Give it a stir. Everything is looking really good here. All right, that looks good. I'm going to give it a stir. Roll them off to one side. I'm going to put in my Swiss chard. So look at that. That's really full, and that wasn't that many vegetables. 1 zucchini, 1 pepper, and a little, 4 leaves of Swiss chard. That makes a lot of vegetables. All right, look at these vegetables. All right, they look perfect. You guys put the oven on to broil. All right, I'm going to give them one more stir so that they're all mixed together. That Swiss chard is mixed around, so everybody gets some Swiss chard in their piece. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is pour the eggs into the pan. You could add cheese if you would like. You can either add it to the vegetables or you can put it right in with the egg. So I'm going to use a little bit of Parmesan cheese because I like that with peppers and zucchini. So, and it's easy just to do it right here. So I'm going to add it to the eggs. And I'm going to just stir that in a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to pour it carefully over the whole pan. Right? Got quiet all of a sudden, didn't it? Wow. Okay, I'm just going to let it set just for maybe, let's say 2 minutes. I'm going to get these into the sink and then I'm going to put it into the oven. So I'm going to put these out of the way. And get my hot pads. And so it starts to cook a little bit in the pan. The heat from the pan and the vegetables will make the eggs cook pretty quickly. So it really only goes under the broiler 5 to 10 minutes. So our eggs are in, it's been cooking, and you can see it's starting to change around the outside. It's time for it to go in the oven. Make sure you have your grown-up helping because it's full, the pan is hot. I have 2 hot pads, and I'm going to use it at both sides. So I have to carefully open the oven first. I'm going to turn off this burner. I'm going to carefully open the oven because it's hot. And I'm going to take one handle and the other handle and lift it up and then carefully place it inside. And the broiler, if you don't know what the broiler means, that's the top part of the oven, and it'll be enough to cook that frittata all the way through in just about 10 minutes. Just enough time for you to set the table for lunch.
And let's move stuff over. There we go.
All right, are your tables set? I set mine up here. I'm ready for this frittata, so let's check on it. Remember, it's hot, the pan is hot, the handles are hot, you gotta have your grown up. You're gonna carefully open the oven. I'm gonna back away to open the oven. I'm gonna get a hold of the handle, and then that other side, and I'm gonna come up right here. I can put it on my cutting board. And I'm gonna keep this pot holder on this handle because it is super hot, and I'm gonna make sure I put that away on that side so I don't grab it, or no one else does either, right? So look at that. We have a beautiful frittata, huh? It's gorgeous. And all the broiling does, it really does brown it up on top, but that's delicious. So let's see. I'm ready for a little slice of frittata. All right. All right. That's it. Thanks for joining me today. And I hope you enjoy your frittata. And don't forget to check out our other FoodPrints videos and recipes for all kinds of delicious food. Thanks.